Hi, my name is Amy and welcome to my prop video. Today we're going to go over some of the props that you might need in a yoga class. Let's start with a yoga mat. I'm sitting on the yoga mat right now and they come in varying thicknesses, different sizes, shapes, colors. You got all kinds of options there. So that's a whole nother discussion. But a yoga mat basically is going to help you with grip while you're doing the poses, and it also will give you a little bit of cushion. So if you don't have a yoga mat, I would recommend getting one. But if you don't, if you have a hardwood floor, you could put a blanket down to help with cushioning, or you could do it directly on your carpet. You could put a rug down. You could put a towel down. I mean, there's some options there if you don't have a mat. So don't let that be the reason that you don't do yoga. There's some options there. Next up are the yoga blocks. Yoga blocks are going to be one of your best friends in yoga because they help bring the floor up to you. So I still use yoga blocks to this day, and I've been practicing for a while, but they are fantastic at helping to get the floor up to you. They come in different materials and different sizes and different shapes, not different shapes, but different sizes. So in this case, this one's a cork block, and it's a little bit softer. So if you have to rest your forehead on it, or if you have to do anything like maybe pushing in, these can be nice for that in that respect. If you want something a little bit more sturdy, then the cork block doesn't have a lot of give. So if you need to rest your forehead on it, that one's not going to be as comfortable. But if you want them more robust, this is very helpful. You'll also see that they come in varying thicknesses. So this one's obviously thicker than that one. So those are some options. I would suggest having at least one, but typically two of the same type of block. So I have two of these and I also have two of these. And you'll also see in a yoga block, they have varying heights. So you've got your low level, your medium level, and then you have your high level. So again, depending on where you need to be, this can help bring that floor up to you. Don't have blocks? Then don't worry, we have options. So there's a lot of things you have around your house that you can use in place of a block, such as vegetable soup cans, anything like that. This will also bring the floor up to you. If you have two of those the same height, that'll work great. Next, you could use a thick book. That will also help bring the floor up to you. Maybe a couple of those. If you have a chair, a coffee table, any of those would work. Today I just brought with me a step stool to kind of show you. But this is the same idea as a chair or a tabletop. So you can use that to help bring the floor up to you. So these are all options for blocks if you don't actually have yoga blocks. Next up would be your yoga strap. These are really helpful with shoulder mobility, hip and hamstring mobility, and stretching those things out. So a yoga strap comes in handy, of course. Again, if you don't have a yoga strap, we have options. Don't worry. You can just use a regular belt out of your closet. Does the same idea. Works great. If you're traveling or you don't have a belt handy, you could just use a t-shirt. Just grab a nice stretchy big t-shirt, and that'll also work. You could use a scarf. You could use a towel. You can also use resistance bands. I know people like to work out with resistance bands. You may already have some of these, so you could use that. That would work just fine. Those are all options for a strap. Next, a yoga blanket. And if you Google that, you'll find it'll be a Mexican blanket. It'll come up and it'll have like the little fringes on the edges. I've never invested in a Mexican blanket. Just haven't needed to because I use the blanket off of my couch, and this works fantastic. And blankets are usually used in several ways to pad the knees for one. It can also help elevate your seat to bring your hips up and to help give you that pelvic tilt. So any kind of blanket would work. If you don't have a blanket handy, a towel will also work. You can fold that up and make that work as you need to. So a towel is an option for a yoga blanket or just a regular blanket. Next, we have the yoga bolster. And this one is typically mostly used in more of like restorative yoga, where the props do you, and you don't have to worry about doing all the poses. They actually help support you and facilitate that kind of yoga practice. But sometimes you may need it in a regular yoga practice, depending on if you're having some restrictions somewhere. So a yoga bolster can be very helpful. This one, as you can see, is kind of big for me. I really need to get one a little bit smaller, but they come in all kinds of shapes and sizes, and so there's a variety out there. If you don't have a yoga bolster, not to worry. A couple of bed pillows. You could use sofa cushions. You could use a couple of pillows. You could take your blanket from earlier and add that on top of your pillow. And as you can see now, it's starting to look like the shape of a bolster. So you don't have to have this. Bolsters are usually a little bit more solid, a little bit more, I mean, they're not rock hard, but they're a little bit more robust in that manner. But you can still use blankets, towels, pillows, you name it. Any of those are options. And then at the end of class, we do what is called Shavasana, which is a resting pose. And something I find very helpful, don't have to have it, would be an eye covering of some sort. This one happens to be full of it's like a bean bag, and you just place it over your eyes, and it gives you a nice calming effect at the end of class. So these are really nice to have. If you don't have these, maybe you have a sleep mask that you sleep with at night, or you don't have any of those, use your t-shirt to cover your eyes. Use a washcloth, a towel. I mean, the options are endless in that respect. And lastly, the last two things I want to go over that would help you in yoga are for yourself. So in terms of clothing, you can see that I'm just wearing a pair of shorts and just a tank top. Depending on the weather, you may want to wear longer pants, whatever. But what you want to do is find something that is really comfortable, something that you can move in, something that is loose enough that you don't feel like you're really restricted, but not too loose. Like such as if I were to put this t-shirt on while I'm doing a yoga practice, this is like something I sleep in. This is really big, and so when I do anything bending over, or this is all going to come over my head, and it's going to get in the way, and it's just going to be a mess. So you want something that is comfortable, that will stay on you, so it's not going to be in your way while you're doing yoga. So find what's comfortable for you, and of course, for most of you, or I would say all of you, unless you're doing this in a group setting with your friends, no one else is going to see what you're wearing. So wear what's comfortable. Be yourself. Be comfortable for sure. And lastly, you should note, I don't know if you've noticed, you could see before, but I am barefoot. Yoga is traditionally and most often practiced barefoot. And there's a variety of reasons for that. One, you get a lot more traction with bare feet on the yoga mat versus if you had a pair of socks on. So, and it also allows you to kind of feel the earth, in this case your mat. It helps you kind of ground down because you're actually going to be, sinking into the 4 points of your feet. So bare feet is recommended. If you absolutely need to wear socks, I know they actually make yoga socks. You might think, well, why do I need yoga socks? You may not, but it actually there's grips on the bottom of the socks. So I would say pick a pair of socks that's not really super slick. You don't want to be sliding on your mat all the time. So again, you're going to want to practice in bare feet or maybe socks. Shoes are definitely not required for yoga or needed at all. I've never practiced with shoes. That would, I would think, hinder some of the practices that you would do. So I think that is some of the basics that you need to know. And when we do the first beginner video, I will actually show you how we're going to use some of these props. So don't feel like you have to go out and get all of these props. When the first video comes out, you'll have the opportunity to watch the whole video all the way through if you want and see where you might need those props, or you can always pause the video and go hey, I need this prop. I know where it is, I'll go get it. So don't think you need to go out and buy everything before the first class. Maybe come to the first class with some of these options that I presented to you, and we'll try it out from there. So I'm excited about our first video together, and that'll be coming up very soon. That'll be a 30-minute beginner's class. Thanks.